It's true crime with a Hollywood backdrop. A beloved English teacher, Harry Major, dies a brutal death. Harry's good friend, realtor Dale Rouse, made the horrific discovery.
I went upstairs and I walked into the master bedroom and noticed a funny smell. This is where he was, and his head was down here. He was not wearing anything other than underwear.
He had some trauma to the head, which was bleeding, and what looked like ligature marks on his arm.
LAPD homicide detective Jose Robledo on a mission to find out who could possibly have had it in for the revered Harry Major, the Hollywood high icon who shaped thousands of young lives in the course of his 28 years as an English teacher.
When I started this case, after it was made public or known that Mr. Major had died, I received several phone calls from prior students of his in high school and friends of his. They loved Mr. Major. He was a mentor to them.
Detective Robledo canvasses the condominium complex in West Hollywood where Harry lived, hoping to find witnesses. Next-door neighbor Luz Maria Berzeño, an LA radio personality, provides the first clue. She had heard a loud thud coming from Harry's unit just 2 nights before his body was discovered.
It scared her enough to run outside and go over to Mr. Major's residence and knock on the door. And as she knocked on the door, a voice, high-pitched, what she thought was a female voice, said, "Harry's not here, he went to the store, Harry's fine."
A loud thud, a female voice. Who was she? What did she know? Then, more observations from other neighbors.
They had told me that they had met a man by the name of Scott or Scotty who had been staying with Mr. Major the week prior.
Detective Robledo finds a phone book in Harry's apartment. His eyes lock on the name Scott Porter. But the name means nothing to Harry's friends. Scott Porter is a mystery, just like Harry's murder. After Harry's murder, his friend Dale Rouse had the daunting task of going through his personal items. Dale would be shocked at what he discovered. Harry Major, it turns out, had a secret side. Harry Major had a penchant for the imprisoned. To his shock, Dale Rouse discovers stacks of letters to and from Harry, all of them with return addresses of prisons around the country. Harry had been corresponding with countless violent felons.
I had to sort out what was trash and what needed to go to the trustee. And there was a lot of letters, a lot of photos. The majority of the letters between him and the inmates were of a sexual nature.
Harry, it turns out, had befriended some of the prisoners who, once paroled, would provide the intimacy Harry's life so sorely lacked.
Harry has money. Harry's a rich guy, and he's offering prisoners a place to stay, money in their pocket, but only if they have sex with him.
He would take them out to dinner and things of that nature, and there would be sexual favors.
I tell you, I didn't see that part of him ever in years. No hint of it. So he did a very good job of separating those two worlds.
But it was a world Detective Robledo would have to investigate. And sure enough, in that stack of prison letters in Harry's condo was correspondence from one Scott Porter, the name Detective Robledo saw in Harry's phone book. The return address was Marcy Correctional in New York.
So I contacted New York and that correctional facility, and they were able to send me a photo and his information.
Scott Porter's real last name was Kratlian. The 46-year-old felon was finishing up a 25-year prison sentence for strangling a man with a belt.
He was previously convicted of manslaughter in New York for the death of Salvatore Caggiano.
Kratlian had no family or friends, just a passion for soap operas. Kratlian was part of a General Hospital pen pal fan club, which ultimately led to his correspondence with Harry.
Harry would flirt with Scott through the mail. He'd always wanted to come to LA, and Harry wrote to him to try to convince him to come to LA.
Once Kratlian was freed from prison, Harry paid his way to Los Angeles. In this security video, you can see Scott Kratlian with the backpack at Harry's apartment parking lot. Kratlian was surprised to see he was sharing Harry's goodwill and condo with another ex-con, James DeRocco, the other man in this surveillance video. 3 was definitely a crowd, and it didn't take long for the two felons to come to blows. James DeRocco left.
So in the back seat or?
No, in the trunk.
Scott Kratlian, pictured here, got thrown out.
Mr. Major had kicked out Mr. Kratlian from his residence, and now Mr. Kratlian had nowhere to go.
Days later, Harry Major is dead. But the investigation into his murder, very much alive.
We were able to collect blood samples. We were able to collect images of shoe prints, knife, wine.
But cops still didn't have Harry's killer.
The challenge in this case was that there was no smoking gun. There was no eyewitness that saw what happened.
Next, how does General Hospital star Leslie Kay end up posing for a picture with Scott Kratlian?
And he puts his arm around my neck, and we take this photo. I almost threw up.